My brothers and sisters, a very hearty welcome to each one of you to this monthly recollection talk. We are almost at the end of the liturgical year, and we are preparing to enter into the season of Advent and the new liturgical year with more interior preparations. In order to facilitate our movement from this liturgical year towards the next, let's today reflect on one of the most enchanting passages in the Gospel on the theme Good Shepherd. Personally, for me, this is a Gospel passage that has instilled in me a lot of hope in the person of Jesus. And that is the only place where we hear Jesus telling, I am the Good Shepherd. The Good Shepherd lays down his life for the sake of the sheep. Naturally, it means I am here to give you life, even if I have to give up my life. The concept of shepherding had been always there in the Bible. From the Old Testament to the New Testament, very many references to it are seen. We know when Joshua was handed over the responsibility to animate the people of Israel and lead them to the promised land, he was named a shepherd of the people. Later we would find in the book of Psalms, the Lord Yahweh is the shepherd of his people. Later, Jeremiah and Ezekiel would consider this concept of the shepherding through the lifestyle of the prophets who are animating the people who are going astray from the path of the Lord. In the New Testament, very vividly, Jesus personifies himself as that shepherd who gives life to his sheep. Think about that parable that he speaks of a shepherd who leaves the 99 sheep in the wilderness and goes after that one which is lost. The personal care, the personal attention that he gives to the sheep is so great. Jesus today, when he speaks about this aspect that he is the good shepherd, he in fact is bringing on himself a lot of troubles. In the history of Israel, we must remember, a shepherd is not the owner of the sheep. He is only a keeper of the sheep, which means someone else owns the sheep and the shepherd is appointed in order to take care of the sheep. Therefore, there was also a great responsibility laid on him to make sure that every sheep is brought back to the fold. When the sheep are together, they would be put within a fenced area. And there would be only just one entrance door. And the only one permitted to enter through that door is the appointed shepherd. That's why Jesus says, I am the good shepherd, and I enter through the gate. All others who enter through other ways are not at all good shepherds. They come to steal the sheep, to kill the sheep, and to destroy it. I am the good shepherd, and I will even lay down my life for the sake of the sheep. My brothers and sisters, sometimes we might think that Jesus is speaking something in a symbolic language. For a person of that time who heard Jesus speaking that he is the good shepherd would never have a second thought than to think that he would literally lay down his life for the sake of each of them. Because when a shepherd takes the sheep into the pasture, he goes out with these sheep for more than a day. It will be sometimes a week, 2 weeks that they are on the way. Meanwhile, he has every responsibility to make sure these sheep are held together and are protected from the wild animals. There may be sometimes lions, tiger, bear, or even thieves coming to take away the sheep. And each of those moments, the shepherd has the serious responsibility to defend his sheep from the danger. And in that context, sometimes he had to even lay down his life for the sake of the sheep. That's where Jesus says, I am the good shepherd. I will lay down my life for the sake of the sheep. My brothers and sisters, when I hear this particular adjective good that is being used by Jesus in the Bible, it is something very, very specific. It also provokes me several times to think whether I am partaking in that goodness of Jesus. I had one or two personal experiences where I understood what this goodness is. What does it mean today when I compare it with the gospel passage where Jesus says he is the good shepherd? When I understand that I need to become a good shepherd for my people in that present time, it needs to be enumerated, evaluated, and also applied practically in the concrete life situation of my life. There was a very interesting incident that I encountered once when I went home for my home holidays. Our parish is a small village, and from there to get to the nearby township is about 10 kilometers of journey. Naturally, being in a small parish, a village parish, there weren't buses coming often to our village. There was only just one bus coming through from another village, passing through our village towards the town. In the morning it would come, again at noon it would return and again go back, and then the evening it comes once again. One bus 3 times. Naturally, all who wanted to go to the town will have to wait for this particular bus to come. On that fine morning, I wanted to go to the city. So I was also waiting for the bus there. There were a lot of school children waiting to board the bus. As the bus came, it was already full, but anyway, we had to squeeze through and get inside the bus. As soon as I entered, within no time, I reached the middle part of it through the push that I got from behind. Anyway, we started our journey. As we were traveling, there was another stop coming by now, and a woman in the bus wanted to get down there. She had a little baby in her hands. She signaled to the conductor to ring the bell so that she can get out of the bus, and he did so. When the stop came, the lady went forward and struggled naturally to carry the child in the hand, and holding the bar of the bus on top there, she somehow reached the front door of the bus. But unfortunately for her, as she was stepping down, she stepped over her own sari and fell with her face down onto the ground. Naturally, there was a big cry and hue from the bus, as all of us were watching the scene that was happening there. And we know, when we see such scenes, we get shocked. We don't even move a step forward. But afterwards, once we regain our consciousness, we jump out and then help the person concerned. And that's exactly what happened. Those who were nearby, they jumped out and lifted the lady up. And I was watching the whole scene. One thing I noticed was very special. She did one thing as she was about to fall. When she knew that she has no chance of not falling, she left even that immediate support that she had by holding on the bar of the bus, and she put both her hands around the head of her child and pressed the face of the child to her breast and fell on the ground unsupported. As people lifted her up, the baby was still in her arms, screaming aloud. But one very interesting thing, even as she got up, she was smiling but oozing down blood, but she was so happy that not even a scratch was there on the body of her little child. Do you call her a good shepherd? But that's only one side of the life event. There's another incident which I have encountered in the context of our own village. A family got migrated into our parish. They were by profession rubber tappers, and they got settled there. And one of the neighbors got very friendly with this family. To that extent, it became a relationship with that particular woman who got migrated into this place. And that was naturally creating a lot of problems for this particular family in the relationships as well as in their life. Every day morning, this man used to go for rubber tapping. And the woman used to give him a flask full of coffee for him to drink during his work. As usual, that particular day, she gave him a flask full of coffee. He took it and he went for his work. In the middle of his work, he stopped and he opened the flask and drank the coffee. As he gulped it down, he understood there is a taste change in the coffee. Immediately, the very first thing that he did was to take up the phone and to phone up to his wife and tell her, do not drink the coffee, you and the children. There is some taste difference. After having said it, he fell down on the ground and he died. And you know exactly what happened. The poison was poured into the coffee knowingly by this person. Now, as he was taken to the hospital, he was declared dead, and the woman phones up to her fiancé and tells him, he is dead, we are safe. But you know what the cyber does. Both are behind the bars today. Yes, my brothers and sisters, it is in the midst of this sort of metamorphosis that we are living today. On the one side, we see a group of people who are so altruistic, so kind, so compassionate, and so understanding, and so self-giving in order to nourish the life of someone else. On the other side, we find a group of people who try to misuse the goodness of others and make them as their own slaves, using them and destroying the possibilities of their lives. That's what Jesus says. I am the good shepherd. I will lay down my life for you. I will make sure that you have a future. I'm not like the hired shepherd. A hireling runs away when the thief comes, when the wild animal comes, because he is there only to just have money for himself, for his personal advantage. But I am here to love you, to lay my life down for the sake of each one of you. This is where I'm a bit enchanted by that adjective, good. My brothers and sisters, in the Gospels we find only once this particular usage that Jesus himself is using this adjective, good. I am the good shepherd. Of course, very often we say about the good Samaritan and the good thief. But you would notice Jesus never mentioned about them as the good thief or the good Samaritan. Think of a thief. Can he ever be a good thief? A thief is a thief. Perhaps we named him a good thief because the one who was on the right side of the cross of Jesus was a better thief than the one who was on the left, because he at least showed some compassion to Jesus as he was hanging on the cross. Other than that, can we ever call a thief a good thief? That's our depiction of the other. What about the good Samaritan? It's not the word used by Jesus at all. It's a version or a title given in the Bible about that particular passage, the parable of the good Samaritan. But Jesus used this word once about himself. I am the good shepherd. You remember that incident of the young Pharisee coming and meeting Jesus and telling him, good master, What must I do to inherit eternal life? And the first question that the Lord asked is this: who is good? God alone is good. Therefore, when Jesus says that He is the good shepherd, He is saying, I'm your God, who can never cheat you, who can never put you down. I will lay down my life for the sake of each one of you. This goodness is something that we need to find in God. When Jesus uses this particular word, good, or the adjective good, we would find there are two ways of using it. The very first way we can understand this adjective good is from the Greek root agathos. Agathos means the quality of being good. That's why we say, in every one of us, there is some goodness. Even in a terrorist, there is some goodness. And that exactly is what we found also in the thief who was on the right side of Jesus. There is a goodness in him which makes him a good thief, at least according to us. Yes, everyone has some goodness in him or in her. That's the first aspect of goodness. When Jesus says good, it could be understood from the point of view of agathos. But when we nuance this particular gospel passage, where Jesus says, I am the good shepherd, he is using another word from Greek, which is known as kalos. Kalos means, in addition to the goodness that you possess, there is a winsome quality in you. There is a winsome quality, a quality that makes you a person who can attract others to himself. Jesus is that kalos, the good, who can attract you to himself through his very presence and his lifestyle. Perhaps we can take this aspect into our own lives. Sometimes when we automatically speak with each other, we say, he is a good priest, or he is a priest. Why this difference? Sometimes we say, that doctor is a good doctor. And sometimes we say, oh, he is a doctor. Is there not a difference in that? How does one become good? In my imagination, I just thought it in this way. Think of a little girl who has got toothache. She is struggling with it. Early in the morning, she is crying out and telling her dad and mom, I have terrible toothache. I need to go to the doctor. Finally, the dad takes her to the dentist. As they reached there, they took the token, and then when the time came, the girl goes inside. The doctor is sitting there very seriously, looking at her. What happened? He asks. And the little girl says, I have toothache. Open your mouth. And she opens the mouth. Let me look inside. What is there? And he takes the torch, looks inside, and he says, there are some worms there. I will take it all out. And he takes an instrument and puts inside and removes the tooth and says, yes, it's gone. Go home. The little girl closes her mouth and she goes back home. She never in her life again says that she has toothache. But you can place the same incident in a different way. Think of the girl crying out and saying that she has toothache. Now her dad takes her to the doctor. As soon as she reaches there, the doctor is sitting there smilingly. And he tells her, my child, what happened? And the girl says, I have toothache. Oh, what's your name? Maria. Come, Maria. What did you eat today? I ate idli. Okay, open your mouth. Let me see whether there is any problem with your tooth. And she opens the mouth and the doctor says, ah, ah, ah. And the whole mouth of the child is opened and the doctor looks inside and he slowly removes the tooth. And after that, When she closes the mouth and everything is cleaned up, the doctor gives her also a chocolate and tells her, when you are well, eat this chocolate. The little girl is very happy. When she came home, she told her mother, Mama, the doctor was very good. My sisters and brothers, you may think that I have made an imaginative story. This is a personal experience. My father had cancer, and at the last moment of his life, together with my brother, I took him to the Lakeshore Hospital, to one of the most famous cancer specialists, Dr. Gangadhar. That day, after having investigated on my father, the doctor came back and told us he will not survive it for another month. The cancer is spread into his brain. Naturally, we were very sad. But thereafter, one very interesting thing happened. The doctor took our father into his office. There were many patients waiting to meet him. But in spite of that, our father was inside the office of the doctor for another half an hour. Later he narrated what he was talking to him. Nothing very special. Nothing about his sickness. He was just asking him, what were you doing until now? How is the cultivation? What's the price of the rubber now? How many acres of land you have? Things that has nothing to do with his sickness at all. And after having talked with him for about half an hour, as he was getting up, the doctor went to him and told him, take this foreign chocolate. You can eat it. As our father was coming out of the room of the doctor, he was beaming with joy, smiling wonderfully, and looking at us, he told us, the doctor was very good today. And you know, he gave me also a foreign chocolate. Do you want to eat it? Literally, the tears were rolling down our eyes, knowing well that this man will not eat a foreign chocolate after 1 month. And he died within that month itself. But one thing that I noticed is this. Even for a terminally ill patient, a doctor becomes a good doctor when compassion, understanding, consideration, and time are given. My brothers and sisters, are we not becoming Jesus in our times? The Lord says, I am the good shepherd. And the welcome message for each one of us is to imitate him in our own life situations. In my home, I need to become a good father. I need to become a good mother, good grandparents. I need to become good teacher, good priest, good religious. And that exactly is the way to become Jesus for the humanity today. I am the good shepherd, someone who has that extraordinary winsome quality to attract the other to oneself. Am I today in my life a good shepherd? Let's look at him who can inspire and emulate a new sense of living in our times. Jesus, the Good Shepherd. Amen.